It's not about me. It's not about you. It's not even about us. It's about legacy. It's about what we choose to leave behind for future generations. And that's why, for the next year, and for the first time since 1974, the best and brightest men and women of nations and corporations the world over will pool their resources, share their collective vision to leave behind a brighter future. It's not about us. Therefore, what I'm saying, if I'm saying anything, is welcome back.
The work of a single organization, the Syndicate. A rogue nation, trained to do what we do, imbued with a new sense of purpose.
The Syndicate, you say?
Yes, sir. That's what he calls it.
I'm ever going to fly with anyone else.
You're so right, Mr. Bond.
This is where we leave you, Mr. Bond.
A little premature, isn't it?
Enjoy your flight.
One night, and said that he'd seen Alfie and how would I like to do the next James Bond film. Hubby rang me again the next morning and said, listen, you can't turn this film down, you know, because there's the world's largest audience waiting to see what kind of a hash you're going to make of it. One of our problems on the film was that in order to shoot in Japan, they were very, very keen for us to use real Japanese girls. It was very difficult to find a girl who could speak even some English, who was something of an actress. I found it down to two who the Japanese liked, and they were rather pretty girls. Wakabayashi was very good. She really learned very, very fast.
I think...
Mia tried desperately hard, and I saw Tamba, and I said, look, Tamba, this is a big problem to us. It's no good for her, and it's no good for us. Will you take her out to dinner and tell her that she has to go back to Japan? He looked a bit glum. And he said, well, I'll try. And he took her out that night, and the next morning he came in, and I said, well, Tamba, how did it go? He said, tonight she commits suicide. She will jump out of the window at the Dorchester. So I rushed to Harry and rushed to Cubby and said, my God, we've got a problem here. Cubby said, you know, I don't think she'd be so bad in the film, which we all agreed very quickly that she wouldn't be so bad in the film. Up into the script straight away. It would be interesting to kill off Sean in the first few minutes, which would be very mysterious. I remember saying to Sean, look, Sean, it's silly not to keep on playing Bond, because whilst you're playing Bond, you can do anything in the world that you want to do.
Let's see, where shall we start?
Why don't we start with a love song?
So in love?
Yes, it's great for Lily.
It's a duet.
Well, so it is.
Strange, dear, but true, dear, when I'm close to you, dear, the stars fill the sky. So in love with you am I, even without you.
My arms fold about you. You know, darling, why so in love with you am I.
In love with the night, mysterious, the night when you first were there.
In love with my joy, delirious, when I knew that you could care.
So taunt me and hurt me.
Deceive me, desert me.
I'm yours till I die.
So in love,
So in love,
so in love,
so in love.
so in love with you, my love.
So in love am
All
As
right.
the song goes, don't get around much anymore. My legs don't work too well.
Well, but you look beautiful. You look fantastic.
Well, I'm 98.
I can't believe it.
Yeah. In fact, I was at a big benefit at the Pantages for the high school musical awards,
Yes.
and they had all the high schools in Los Angeles and all the kids performing.
Yes.
And Mr. Pinocchio was the MC.
Yes.
And he came up and he said, and in the audience is so-and-so and so, and there's Patricia Morison, who was 99. I said to myself, wait a minute. I'm not 99 till next March.
They gotta be careful. They gotta.
Okay.
Well, actually, that was, you anticipated my first question, which is that there are, on the internet where I do some of my research for this, there are conflicting sources. Some say 1914, some say 1915.
1915.
1915. So we got to tell them that you're younger than they're giving you credit for.
Well, I don't mind as long. Where did he go?
He's up on the painting over here. Yeah.
He's very nosy and he gets into things.
So, well, I guess should I just dive into the questions?
Yeah, of course.
I was curious, as a kid, did you go to the theater or the movies? And if you did, were there any productions or people that were particular favorites of yours?
Well, no. I used to go. I lived in New York, and my mother was interested in the theater. She used to take me to the theater, but I used to see movies. And one of our dearest friends, my parents did, was Herbert Brennan. Do you know who Herbert Brennan was?
I don't.
He was he was the same era as DeVille.
Ah.
And he directed, he discovered Lon Chaney and Loretta Young.
Wow.
He did those early movies, and one of his most famous movies was Peter Pan, where the first time they used sort of digital cameras. They made.
Was that with Mary Martin?
No, long before, honey.
Way earlier.
In the 20s. Mary Martin was my era. And they had trick photography where Tinkerbell was this size. And he was then a big movie director. And he used to come to our house because he was from Ireland and my mother was born in Ireland and they knew each other. But no, I went to movies very early in life.
And do you remember, was there an actress or a singer or someone who you really admired?
Well, I wasn't a singer then. I was a great Garbo fan.
Yes.
And Kay Francis.
Mm-hmm.
And Helen Hayes did a couple of wonderful films.
Yes.
The one with Gary Cooper. But I had my favorites. I used to go. I lived in Manhattan, and it was during the Depression.
Yes.
And the cheapest movies were down on 42nd Street. There were all these movie houses. And for 25 cents you could see a movie. And I had a girlfriend who would come in on subway from Brooklyn. And we'd meet at Times Square and we'd go from one movie house to the other.
Amazing.
Yeah.
What kind of idea did I have about who I might turn into? I didn't have any idea. I had no idea how anybody turned into anything. I was what I was. I was this kid, this boy. When I started college, I wanted to be a lawyer. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I just thought that's something you could. That's something you could be. I was very interested in equality and justice in America. Partly, I suppose, from growing up Jewish. So I thought that if I was a lawyer, I'd be marching in the cause of truth and justice. But within a year, and for the first year or so, I took pre-law courses and so on, and I enjoyed some of them. But I began to take literature, and then the bell rang again. That just overwhelmed everything. And so I thought then that I'd be a college professor, that I'd be an English teacher. That's what I thought throughout college. And then I went to graduate school to get an advanced degree to become an English professor. I wasn't interested in commerce. My interest in material things was negligible. I didn't want to get a lot of dough. So I thought I'd be a college professor. In those days, college professors were paid very poorly. Maybe they still are. And then I began to write stories. The first ones were no good. They were terrible, little college stories. And then I got better somehow. I began to sell some stories. I didn't make huge sums of money, but people were recognizing that I had something. And then I sold a story to Esquire magazine in 1958. I was 25. I got $800. So I quit my job teaching at the University of Chicago, and I came east with my $800. And thinking I could live for $100 a month, and I did it. Then I was off on becoming a writer. But no, I never dreamed of it, never wanted it, never thought of it.
I go to the grocery store or something on the weekends, I always take one of them. I try to get them cranked up once a week, once every 10 days anyhow. Even if I don't take them out, I just let them sit and run. My cars are drivers. I don't have no trailer cars. They're a lot of fun to drive. My first car when I was 16 was a 1950 Plymouth four-door ex-Baltimore taxi cab, and it had been run through the mill. I had a 73 Cadillac, was the biggest piece of shit I ever owned. I bought it new, and that was the biggest mistake. I mean, oh my God. It was a nightmare from the word go. They kept the car more than I did. I have to say that I want me a 35, 36 Packard Cadillac V12. Like I said before, it's hard now to tell the difference between a Cadillac and a Chevrolet, for God's sakes. Don't get me wrong, the technology they have in the cars today is phenomenal. But they ought to do something about the style. I like my 66 convertible because it's quite a rare car. But I like my sedans too, so I just like my old cars. Now, wake up in the morning, go get my coffee and say, well, another day, let's see what comes down the road. I think retirement's overrated for anyone. I've got a lot of my friends, a lot of people I know have retired, and a lot of them admitted to me they're not happy with it. People's asked me many times, well, Richard, when are you going to retire? I tell them the day I walk through that door and it's not fun, I'll quit. It's still fun for me.
First of all, I want you to know that I am a part of you. Well, at least a part of me is European, because my heart is an English heart. So I'm a European at heart. Too bad I didn't learn all the languages with that heart. They didn't come with that automatically. I want to put it in the frame of 3 words. And they're called principles, priorities, and profits. Now, I want to talk to you about those because sometimes it gets lost in translation as to what the Amway business is really all about. What the priorities must be, what the principles are, and what our concern must be over the profit and the profits of all of our distributors. Sometimes we get focused on our profits and we forget about their profits. But the goal must be to make them profitable, and when they make money, then you and I make money, but not the other way around. That's a principle of the Amway business. Now, to illustrate all of that, I have to take you back a little bit on what I think are some of the key points. And if you're writing it down, I'll try to go with you, but I'll try to make it clear, okay? So, profits, principles, and priorities will kind of get mixed around in my comments about the plan. Now, first of all, I want to thank you Europeans for my heart. A year and a half ago, thereabouts, I received a new heart in London, England. My heart was in a 40-year-old woman, 39 then. So she was given a new heart and lung, which came from the Czech Republic. And so she was a beneficiary of somebody, and a young man, actually, who was killed in the Czech Republic. And that heart was brought to England, that heart and lung. And when they gave her, because her real problem were her lungs, not her heart, fortunately. But it was an easier operation to give her a heart and lung together as a pair, that works better. So when they gave her a heart and lung, then I was the wonderful recipient of her heart. In a transplant operation, we first of all have to have a blood type match. Then we need a tissue match. Then we need a size match. Then we need a pressure match of what the pressures are in that heart, because my heart had some special demands upon it as it was dying. My heart was only a few months from being totally gone. My doctors told me it was the worst heart they ever took out of anybody in England. So my heart was not very well, and I was not destined to live very long. But the Lord